All right, guys, let's get into these sort of ridiculous videos that we're going to learn a lot from. You guys always know I love doing this, but as always, this portion is brought to you by Snake Staff Systems, and let's start breaking them down. This first one has to do with an AD, and these guys are on the range in a training environment, and the instructor, which if you want to call him that, does something pretty ridiculous.
Bring your hand underneath the trigger guard and roll your palms together. So both your hands are going to sit on the left-hand side of the pistol. You're going to walk out. Both your arms, you're going to push with your right, pull with your left, focus on that front side tip. Now, if you want on this 44 Magnum, you can shoot it single action.
Did you mean to do that?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Painful. It's so painful to watch. And if you guys are listening, this is a bunch of guys on the range in a training environment, and he's talking about how to shoot this pistol, and he's going through the motions. Now, as soon as the video starts, the guy behind him is already like, whoa, like what's going on? He feels the environment's not safe, which means to tell me that this isn't something that's new, that this has already been happening, which is probably why the video camera came out. Like, okay, this guy is a little bit of a clown. Let me get this on video. And as he's sweeping the gun all over the place, these guys clearly don't feel safe. Then he goes into explaining what's going on. He cocks the hammer back and then discharges a round right into the ceiling, almost into his head. You know, it was in front and he didn't really have any control over the gun, but that gun comes and sweeps all the way back to his face. And his response right there is to flinch backwards. And then the guy asks him, hey, did you mean to do that? And he's like, oh yeah, totally. Of course. And that's a totally. You know, this environment where people are learning is so critical to know your firearm safety rules and know what you're doing, to know the firearm that you're teaching on. This guy got complacent, and honestly, that's the threat to anybody that's trying to instruct other people. It's biblical too, right? Those that are going to teach, those that are going to be in positions of power, those that are going to be mentors and guiders to whatever you're teaching, you're going to be held more liable, you're going to be held more responsible, you're going to be put into higher positions of scrutiny because you're choosing to go down that path. So this guy, being responsible for whatever these guys are learning, and this is part of my fear for what people are learning out there, that garbage that's on the internet, the garbage that's on YouTube, careful what you consume for information. This is just one opportunity to learn from. This guy was not paying attention to what he was doing. He had his finger on the trigger while he was looking away from what he had going on, and you basically take it back from what we call to a hair trigger. There was probably about a pound or a pound and a half that needed to be pulled. He got complacent and he put a round right into the ceiling. If I ever did this, guys, if this ever happened in a training environment, I'd pretty much fire myself at that point from that career path, because it just shows the level of complacency that I am not in a position to hold the responsibility of teaching other people. I need to hold myself and everybody else to a higher degree. If you guys have ever been to any of my courses, you know how serious we take this. There's no joking around. It's complete serious behavior, because I need to know that you're going to take it that way, because this is what can happen. Lives are lost. People are seriously hurt, as we're going to see on some other videos here shortly, that this is not stuff to fool around with, and it really is inexcusable. So hopefully this guy's not teaching anymore, and he's gone through a long, long remediational path to be able to get back to a point where he should be in front of other people teaching. You know, these guys are laughing about it, but let's be honest. If we're responsible and we're on the range, and even if you guys are learning from somebody else, if you get across somebody like this, you need to stop the training environment immediately. Say, hey, cease fire right now. I'm not comfortable with learning from you anymore. If I'm already bobbing my head back and forth, that's not funny. It's not time to pull out a camera and say, like, what other stupid things is this guy going to do? That's time to say, cease fire. You need to get off the range. I don't feel safe around you, and walk away. Because if you don't, and you don't take it seriously, you're going to end up getting somebody killed. And that's just me to you guys saying, this is my life. You know, I've spent my entire career taking this stuff seriously to hopefully bring value to people. And I hope that somebody watching this video has their lives saved because you said something. You were the one to take action and say, hey, all stop, ceasefire, get off the range. This isn't cool. So at least we can take anything away from this is to be bold. Don't sit there with your mouth shut, knowing that you should say something. If it doesn't feel right, use your instinct, get out of there, stop the training environment, and do something about it. Hopefully we'll learn something from that. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this video before, but it's worth noting. Clowns on the range. Know your safety rules. That's the last point that I'll bring up on this is know your safety rules with firearms. These are life-taking and life-saving devices. Have an extremely high and growing level of awareness. Treat every single gun, no matter what, like it's loaded and ready to fire. Never point your gun at anything you don't intend to kill or destroy or hurt or injure. Don't put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to fire and your gun is aimed at what you want to kill or destroy or shoot. 5, know your target, know what's behind it, know everything that's going on in your environment on the left, the right, the up, the down, behind you and everywhere else before you decide to pull the trigger. Knowing your firearm safety rules, I mean, guys, if you're carrying a gun or you're around firearms, you should know that like the back of your hand before you even walk onto the training environment. I know they're not easy to remember, but do yourself a favor and take the time to do it. Okay, next clown breakdown, I suppose. All right, got a couple guys in the range. They're shooting extremely close with each other. And he just shot the guy in the head. Gave him a clean haircut. And I don't know what the outcome of this video was. So these guys are sitting here shooting. There's clearly people filming. Again, which makes me question, you know, why are they filming? Because these guys don't know what they're doing and they look like they're being clowns. I think that guy had some flesh certainly skimmed off the top of his head. Now, he didn't go out cold, but I think that bullet grazed the top of his skull, if not cracked it. I'd like to be able to find out more about what's going on with these guys, but these guys are pushing the limits. Don't know where they are or what they're doing, but look, people are watching video games, people are watching movies, people are trying to emulate things that they see. You have no real right or responsibility to go train like this without having been looked at and really surveyed by a coach or a teacher. And this is coming from somebody that spent their life in this type of environment. How much training that I really took for granted that allowed me to get to this level. Now, could you do it on your own? Guys, sure. If we're on a deserted island and I said, hey, it was just us and we knew nothing and we had to figure this out, yes. But seek coaching. Seek a high level of training because coaches are going to see stuff like this and be like, you're getting way too close, way too quick. You're not responsible enough and prepared to carry this level of responsibility. Your level of responsibility, your buddy's life, your family's life is literally in your hands, and that guy almost got killed. He is lucky to be alive. That guy didn't just take his head clean off. And if you're not at that level of training, you have no right to try to push that limit. Don't take good coaching and good teaching for granted. Go get coaching and teaching from people that know what they're doing in these level of environments. That closeness takes a lot of repetition, guys. I'm telling you right now. To be able to work off my buddy's shoulder, to be able to get to so close with my muzzle, with my safety off, my finger on the trigger, you know, that's what tier 1 level operators do because we do it day in, day out. Every single day. We know what our buddy's shadow looks like. We know how to be disciplined enough in those environments. And honestly, if I can see complacency from a mile away, and in my courses, if you've ever been to some of my combative pistol courses, you know the drill that we do in the very beginning that helps us identify very quickly those that are not capable of doing this drill, those that are way incompetent to be able to keep up. You know, you have to practice all of your senses. You know, Can I see? Is my peripheral vision on point? Am I predicting what's going to happen next? Can I understand where his muzzle is going to be? All these factors that come into play for these types of environments. Don't go push yourself to this level if you have not got proper training, guidance, and teaching. Please, for the sake of your buddy, the people's lives around you, all I can say is that if you haven't been properly exposed to this stuff, don't go trying to do it at home, because you can get killed or take somebody else's life. And then you have to live with that for the rest of your life. There's a certain time and a place to push the limits. The training environment without proper guidance is not the place to do it. So hopefully, at least if you walk away with anything, is think next time you're on the range to say, do I have a competent level of training to be able to do this type of stuff? Do I feel like I should be doing this? Have I been coached appropriately to allow me to say yes? I trained with Dom, and Dom approved of me getting to this level because I know he knows what he's looking for. I can identify and predict way down the road if you're going to be a liability and put somebody at risk, which is why we push the areas of training in a lot of different dynamics that are hard to explain just on the simple video. But if you ever come to CQB or home defense with me, you understand really quickly what I'm talking about. Let's see what we've got next. The next one is also another training environment. And again, this is just being aware and being smart. A lot of people out there goof off and fool around on the range. And if you're ever with me, I am not one to fool around. If you're going to fool around and you're going to go think that you're going to do anything stupid or silly, if you invite me, I'm going to put a stop to it, and we're going to train seriously, especially when firearms are involved. So anyway, let's get to the next video. Got a guy on the range behind a tree, and I see a target in the background. Okay. So if you're listening, he was aiming at a fridge that was, I don't know, probably 150, let's call it 150 yards away. He shoots the fridge blows up. The whole entire door to the fridge comes blasting back at him at an extreme velocity that very easily could have injured or killed somebody. I honestly, I can't stand tannerite. I think it's stupid. There's a time and a place for it where we're trying to identify a target, or you're taking a long shot and you want to have an effect. I think it's all show, and I think it's almost useless at this point. There's a lot of other ways to identify whether I hit a target. So great, you want to use tannerite, play around. It's just not the place for it. And things like this where guys are trying to stuff the tannerite in the fridge and do something silly with it. Why? That's my question to you guys. Why? Because it's funny? Because it's goofy? You're trying to get a rise on somebody? If I'm on the range and I'm training and I'm shooting, it's just not the place to screw around. And I tell that to my kids. I tell that to anybody I train with. You're not going to see me going on the range, shooting tannerite at an obstacle like this for just, giggles. You know what I mean? I want to convey that to you guys. And I hope somebody just kind of levels up and matures just a little bit more by watching this video and saying, okay, you know what? We probably don't need tannerite. I know everybody thinks it's fun. It's like a cool thing to do. But what's more fun is leaving the range with a high level of proficiency and knowing that your skills are sharper and you've refined your marksmanship and your weapons manipulation and your disciplines as you walk off the range. I guess for you guys that are instructors or putting on an event or doing anything else, you just ask yourself why. Why am I using tannerite? Why do I feel the need to make something blow up? Because cases like this, where these guys were clearly goofing off, somebody could have gotten hurt. Okay, that's why we're bringing this video up. These were all training videos on the range. Having an AD, having a situation where somebody just got their head shot and then a door coming blasting at them at a high velocity that could have killed somebody or hurt somebody on the range. That's the scenarios for this episode, guys. They were all training related, but learn from them.